said, if you don't see me in 6 months, look for me under a bridge, because that's where I'll be. So my day starts at 5 o'clock because that's when my dream starts, right? That's what I'm building towards. A dream is going to come to fruition because of the sacrifice that I'm putting in. You have doubt. Sometimes you doubt yourself. Yeah. What am I doing? We took every last penny that we had in our savings account, pushed it into the middle of the table, and we built our first swim school. I'm all in.
All in.
I know people say that, but no, I'm really all in.
Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of the Profitable Chiro Network. I'm your host, Dr. Daniel, and I have a special guest today. We have a lot of history because I get to take care of your youngest daughter, which then blossomed into the whole family.
Yep.
But this is Felipe Delgado. He is an amazing entrepreneur. He has a super successful bunch of teams, business. He is an Olympic level athlete formerly. He has a daughter who's an Olympic level athlete. And what I think is special is not only is he a great business owner and just a great man in general, but he has an epic family. And I think it speaks to just who you are as a human being. And I think there's a lot to learn. I think a lot that anybody listening and watching can learn from you, from your experience, from how you think about life. And I just want to say that it's like such an honor to be able to sit down and do this with the trust that you give me with all of your kids, with your mom, with your body. And man, the business that you built, the way that Coco has been in your swim school since she was 3 months old.
Yep.
And literally never been out.
Yep.
And now she's swimming laps with Coach Colin, and it's amazing. So Felipe and I have a lot of ties.
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful for you to come on.
Well, after that introduction, I think we can end the podcast now, just so we don't ruin it. That's it. We're done. Thanks, Dr. Dan. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. No, I appreciate it. Obviously, I appreciate being here, the introduction. And man, I appreciate the friendship. How long has it been? 5 years?
It's been a long time.
5-6 years of friendships that we've developed over that time. You know my entire family. There's nothing I'm hiding from you at this point. You know that.
Likewise.
Yeah. So you know my entire family. All my kids have been here. My mom. I trusted you with my mom, and you came through.
We were joking before that your mom had the nickname Bruja for me, which is witch in Spanish.
Yeah, you were the witch. Yeah,
because of getting to work with her, which is special. We can talk about that at some point. Yeah. But I think I don't know where I want to start. I guess let's go business first, and then we'll transition into the other stuff. And if sports come up or whatever, that's great.
Sure.
Which I believe that they will. But we were kind of talking, I think before these guys rolled the cameras, is about just like what it takes to be successful and the mindset that it takes to. But I would love to just get some insight from you. Is like you have a beautiful family.
Thanks.
You have 4 children.
Likewise.
An amazing wife who is also an entrepreneur of her own, a little bit more creative. Yeah. And like you guys are just amazing to be around. So my question is, how do you have a team? Because your team is how many people in Evolution?
I don't know.
Are you guys 60?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It's a big team. Like we have 4.
And I envy that.
So what's the secret to, like, you have a big team, you have all these personalities you have to deal with, and then still being able to be such the family oriented like I see you come with the kids. Yes. It's not like dad's doing his own thing and grinding in business. Like you guys are always together as a fam, always doing as much as you can. And so what's the secret behind it? Because I think that's what people miss a lot. They're just all business focused and they have no family, but you seem to have both really, really well.
I think the first word that comes to mind is sacrifice.
Yep.
You have to sacrifice. I mean, if you're going to go into business 100%, head down, nose to the ground, you're going to have to sacrifice, right? You're going to have to sacrifice family time, friendships. You're going to have to sacrifice events, travel. And, when Megan and I got married 100 years ago, it seems, right? When we got married, we had conversations about this and how we wanted our family to look like and what we wanted it to look like. And I think, and I don't know if it's still okay to say this, but we are a traditional family. Yep. Megan, we decided early on that Megan would stay home with our kids, and that I would go out and try to provide for the family. And that was us. That's what we wanted. That's what we both agreed on. And I think now looking in hindsight, we're very happy we made that decision because my wife was able to stay home with our kids.
Yep.
I was able to create this life that we have now in the sense that as an entrepreneur, because when we first met, we both worked for a company. We both worked for a pharmaceutical company.
Is that how you guys met?
That's how we met.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we both worked at the company, Novo Nordisk, who they're famous because they Ozempic is their product. Yeah. Right? So we were working at Novo Nordisk. That's how we met, and fell in love. And shortly after, we got engaged and then got married. And we had a plan. And the plan, in good fortune, God's good graces, has worked. And that's where we're at today. But the first word that comes to mind with the question you asked me is sacrifice.
So good.
I was willing to sacrifice a lot at the beginning to build what we have today. We put the kids to bed, and I'd be up till 1, 2, 3 in the morning working on the plan. And the plan was always looking towards the future as to what our company was going to look like.
Yep.
And any entrepreneur will tell you it doesn't always work that way. It doesn't work the way it's on paper, right? Because if it did work that way, everybody would do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, we had trials and tribulations, and I think more good days than bad. That's why we're here.
Yep.
And that's what got us to where we are today. Sacrifice, and obviously, any entrepreneur will tell you that perseverance plays a huge role
for sure
in what we do.
What was the transition? So I would imagine that there was some sacrifice. Like when I was teaching, I literally had to sacrifice like a promotion, a house, a lot of the stuff to go to chiropractic school and completely shift. So somewhere for you, there had to be a similar shift of like, hey, we're both in the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm going to shift and I'm going to start my own business, which is a couple of swim schools now locally. How did that transition occur?
Wow. If I could write a book, I'm honestly, I could write a book about this. And I'm being honest with you, because the way it started early on, when we lived in Mission Viejo, we lived off of Melrose in Mission Viejo. When we started, we had our director, my district manager, was down the street, literally down the same street that I lived on. And our regional business director was up the street that I lived on. And I was playing a dual role. I was going to work every day, fulfilling my obligations with Novo Nordisk, with the company I used to work for. I was fulfilling my obligations with them, but in the evenings, I was teaching swim lessons, right? And that was part of the sacrifice.
Yep.
I wasn't coming home just like your normal employee.
9 to 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't coming home. I was getting dressed in my car, and I was going to teach swim lessons in the evenings after work. So that was a sacrifice. That was sacrifice number one, not coming home to our kids right away.
Yeah.
Not coming home to my family right away.
Yeah.
And having a wife who understood that and was okay with that, because we shared our dreams and visions together. And that was it. That was it. I did not see myself as an employee for the rest of my life. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I knew that I had to sacrifice to do that.
Yep.
And part of that was saying, okay, my day doesn't end at 5 o'clock like my friends or other coworkers. My day starts at 5 o'clock, because that's when my dream starts, right? That's what I'm building towards, a dream that someday down the road,
so cool,
is gonna come to fruition because of the sacrifice that I'm putting in. And the other thing is, any entrepreneur will tell you that you have doubt. Sometimes you doubt yourself.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah,
that's a question we ask ourselves a lot. What am I doing?
Do you still feel that way?
No.
I mean, dude, like, you're successful, so.
Not today.
Yeah.
Not today. I'm very clear on what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
But you do have the question, what am I doing? Like, why aren't I home right now? Why aren't I home with my kids? Why aren't I home with my wife? That's where I need to be.
Yep.
But then that doubt gets erased with every small milestone that you achieve, whether it's teaching 1 or 2 kids to 5 kids, and then you have 10 kids, and then you have a schedule, and then you have a wait list. That's when it becomes a little bit more real.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it went. But the book that I'm talking about could be written because I'm literally going past my district manager's house, past my regional business director's house, to my second job. And not every day was it 5 o'clock, because there are certain days that you finish a little bit earlier in that industry. And so I'm going by the gauntlet, right?
Yep.
As I'm going to my second job a little bit earlier than I should be. So, and here I am teaching swim lessons, building a business, hired somebody, which was really weird. Because
what'd you hire him for?
I'd never.
Like, first person you hired, what'd you hire him for?
First person I hired was Caitlin. And I hired her in 2007, I think. Caitlin was my first person I could get emotional about this too, because she's the first person I ever hired. She's with me today. She doesn't know anything else but Evolution Swim Academy, which is where she worked. I hired her as a senior in high school. She went to UCSD. She graduated with a 4-year degree, 2011. And in 2011, she came to me and said, well, I'm working full time now. And I thought for sure 2011 she'd graduate, she would move on.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, this is what I love to do. I'm working full time. And that was my aha moment, because when Caitlin told me that, I said, she believes in me. She believes in what we've done over the last few years, because she'd come home every summer from college and work with me. She believes in what we're doing. And if she believes in me, why don't I believe in myself? And the reason I say that is because I was still working my other job in 2011. I had spent all of these years building little by little by little.
Yeah.
I was still working the other job. I feel that from a monetary perspective, I was making enough at this point to be able to say, I can walk away with this and not put my family in a bad position. Mm-hmm. So that was the moment. And she came home in June of 2011, and I left my job in July of 2011. 1 month later, I walked away, and she was the catalyst. I went home and I said, I'm ready to jump off the bridge. And my wife said, we're going to be just fine. And so I jumped off the bridge in July of 2011. And I haven't looked back since.
Which would have been 14 years ago.
14 years ago.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think there's so much in there. So you kind of have to be obsessed to the point where you don't go home and watch Netflix at the end of the day.
No.
You had such a vision that other people bought into it and were with you. And I can't help but think about Danielle as you sit here and say this. So special. Man, there's so much in there.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So then bring us like full circle to where you guys are today. So 2 locations, right?
Well, I'll give you some milestones.
Yeah.
From 2011 when I decided
I'm all in.
I'm going to leave my company. And, and the exact conversation with my district manager was, I'm going to leave the company. Her question was immediately, where are you going? Mm-hmm. Because most people in the industry will go to another company in the industry. And I said, I can start by telling you I'm not going to another company. This happened in the parking lot at Costco, right as we were about to go on a ride along.
Yep.
And I said, I can promise you I'm not going to another company. And she said, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to teach swim lessons. And to this day, if anybody ever asks me, what do you do? I say, I teach swim lessons.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. They look at me like, really? Yeah, I teach swim lessons. So I said, I'm going to go teach swim lessons. And her exact response to this day, I remember, isn't that something you do in high school? You don't do that when you're married with kids.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, but I will. And so I did. And we hugged it out. And she was awesome. Caroline, she was phenomenal. She gave me a hug, wished me well. And that was the end of our ride along. We didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, of course.
And 2011, fast forward to 2013. I'm still doing it on a part-time basis. And the only reason I say that is because when you run swim lessons outdoors, you can't do it. In California, I know the weather's great, but you can't do it year-round.
A little chilly year-round.
It gets a little cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets December to March.
Yep.
You're not really doing lessons outdoors. So
for sure.
It was still kind of sort of on a year-round basis, but more so part-time. And so we grew a business, even though we had literally have to take 3 to 4 months off every year. We still, in those 2 years, we grew a business. And in July of 2013, my wife walked away from her job as a pharmaceutical rep. So we had both now left our well-paying jobs with fantastic perks.
Yep.
And now I have a picture of her, actually this past July. It was an anniversary so 2013, it would have been 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. So there's a picture of her holding up a little sign the day she walked away from her job that said, hot dogs, $1, right? And I took a picture, and I don't know why I took it, and we were getting ready for a swim meet, and the kids were going to do a little hot dog stand, and it was $1.
Yeah.
So it was a Facebook post or something. I captioned it. Megan has left her job. She's on to newer, bigger and better. She's on to bigger and better things. And she had a sign that said hot dogs $1, right? And we still have that picture. And so that was it. When I left in 2011, she was pregnant with Francesca.
Yep.
I left in July. She was born in October.
Yep.
So that was crazy.
Yep.
I have 2 kids at home. My wife is pregnant, and I walk away from a great job. And if you remember 2010, it was during the housing crisis.
Yeah.
So more people were on the sidelines than not. So I had a job that a lot of people wanted.
For sure.
Because the minute you step out, you're not coming back.
Yep.
You're going to the back of the line, and there's a good chance you're not going to come back for a long
Yeah.
time. So I knew all of that. And even so, I still chose to step away from it. And in 2013, my wife stepped away. July of 2013, my wife stepped away. And in December of 2014, we built our first swim school. And
wow.
The fundraising for that was crazy.
Yeah.
It was me knocking on doors, going to friends, going to people who I felt could trust me, going to family, and trying to raise money, because in 2013, which is when I was raised, 2013, 2014, there wasn't a bank around that was going to lend you any money.
Yeah.
to build a swim school. They didn't even know what that was.
Right.
So we took every last penny that we had in our savings account and we pushed it into the middle of the table. Mm-hmm. We took the money that our friends and family gave us, pushed it into the middle of the table, and we built our first swim school. And I'll never forget a conversation I had with someone at the gym. One time I was at the gym, and he's like, "Hey, how's that swim school coming along?" I said, "If you don't see me in 6 months, look for me under a bridge, because that's where I'll be." So, and that's pretty much saying, I'm all in.
All in.
I know people say that, but no, I'm really all in.
Yeah.
Like I have nothing left. So that's what we did in good fortune. Perseverance, sacrifice, we're here.
Man, that is so cool.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of lessons. I know there's like quite a few newer chiros who watch and they hear like, and this could be for any business owner, not just chiropractors, but I think that a lot of business owners think, especially with Instagram now, it's like, oh, if I just work for 6 months, I'll get to $1 million in revenue, or
Sure.
I'll be able to like quit my job.
Sure.
You were doing this relatively part-time for almost 4 years.
That's right.
And then 6 years total before Megan, you got to the point where Megan could step away.
That's right.
And then in that 7th year is where you're really like, we're like all in. We're either going to lose everything and I feel like, to me, I think it's special because there's perseverance, there's grit, there's willpower, sacrifice, but there's also a piece of it. And you mentioned it with your first hire, is this idea of calling. And you said it. And the reason I love the word calling is because in the middle of the word calling are the words all in.
That's right.
And I want people to take it away, because I think a lot of times it's easy to look from the outside and be like, man, he's so lucky. And like everything just fell in his lap, and like it was just so easy. And people probably think the same about us and think about a lot of the other business owners, but realistically it's like quite a bit of risk. And the successful entrepreneurs are like 5% of the whole population.
Right.
So what you see, I feel like a lot of times what we see on Instagram, what we see in other places, is not a reality of like the suffer and the sacrifice and the grind and the self-doubt and all the things that come in the beginning to get to a place where you are, and you're like double the time in it that I am. Yep. But I think that it's special to hear, and it's encouraging for me to hear like, no, the doubt goes away. Yep. And even though I'm better, there are some days when I still wake up and I'm like, man, this is like, could this all fall apart tomorrow? Yep. You know? So it's just so cool. Where do you think that came from with you?
My mom.
Tell me more.
My mom.
Your mom's amazing.
My
mom,
I
wish people could. I wish your mom could just sit here and like tell her story to the camera without me here, because she's so awesome.
I say it all the time.
Yeah.
You
really do.
My father was a huge influence in my life.
Yep.
My father, he passed away a few years ago, and I think about him all the time still. Obviously you think about, if you lose a parent, or when you lose a parent, things happen, milestones take place where you just want to pick up the phone and call him, Dad, look what I did.
Yeah.
And I can't do that anymore. But I've got my mom here. And I know my mom is she's kind of a bruja herself, because I think she can channel her energy to my dad and still connect with him.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that I do, I share with her. I think she shares it with him. Right. And she's like, hey, look what our kid's doing. So, and that goes along for all of us, all the boys in the family. There's a few of us, my brothers. But, I think the grit definitely comes from my mom. My mom is, to this day, she's 86, I think. She's 86 years old, and she is independent as can be, 100% independent. And there's nothing that she can't do.
Yep.
There's nothing that she can't do. I go to her. I'm a 52-year-old entrepreneur who has had some success. I still go to my mom for things, just because I know that if there's a way, she'll find it. Mm-hmm. She'll find. If I can't think of what it is how I can get from point A to point B, she'll help me get there.
Yeah.
Point A to point B. She's that type of a woman. When we were growing up, my mom used to work. She used to work at General Motors, and she passed up some opportunities because she wanted to raise her kids here in Southern California, because it took us a lot to get to where we were.
Yeah.
Immigrant family. My parents immigrated here in the 60s. And we lived in Los Angeles. Then we moved up to Orange County. And once we got to Orange County, it seemed like things were working against us a little bit, because her job in particular kept trying to move her out of Orange County. She had some opportunities to move to Detroit. She worked for General Motors.
Yep.
So she had an opportunity to move to Detroit. And she ended up having to walk away from her job because she didn't want to raise her kids somewhere else outside of Orange County.
Wow.
So what did she do? She didn't go out and pout and look for another opportunity. She said, I'm going to start a business. And this is someone who was never going to take no for an answer. So she started cleaning people's homes, right?
Yep.
She was the first formal house cleaning company. She owned the first formal house cleaning company in Orange County. This was before Molly Maids and Mary Maids and all those maids. She was the first formal house cleaning company in Orange County. And you know, the way she ran her business was very fair. She was very fair to the people that worked for her. She was very fair to her clients. And she had so much energy. And I could see that energy growing up, watching her, how she worked, late nights, early mornings.
Yep.
She would go and do stuff herself when somebody wouldn't show up. She'd pick up and do it herself. We had... she had companies that she worked. She had hospitals that she worked with where you can only work for certain hours, like 1 a.m. to 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And she would go do that. Or the post office. She would go from the hospitals to the post office to work there before they opened the post office, which is whatever time they opened at. So she would pull all-nighters. She never missed. She was always there for us in the morning. And
Wow.
She was always ready to go. Like she was still, like her battery was still at 100%.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, she still has that today.
She still has that. She's 86
So
years old.
cool.
She's still got, Mom, how you doing? You feel good? Yeah, I'm feeling good. Are you tired? I never get tired.
Yeah.
That's her like staple response. I never get tired. And so to this day, like I said, you know, I can pick up the phone and ask my mom for advice, ask her how to get from point A to point B, and ask her, hey, Mom, can you come to my house real quick and help me out with it? Yep, be there in 30 minutes.
Yep.
That's it. So I think I get a lot of my perseverance, a lot of the ability to sacrifice, and the ability to justify why I'm doing what I'm doing. I get it from my mom. And that wasn't the only business. She had some other businesses that she did and she was successful at. But yeah, I think that's where it comes from.
So cool. Well, I think we were talking before we started recording about another family, like the 4 kiddos, and then one of them not doing the morning workouts. And you can tell the story if you want to,
Yeah.
but I think that, like, when you shared that with me, I'm thinking about it now. And, you know, I get nerdy about the brain, but what we know about success from a neurological perspective is all of it comes from skills. So it's not like whether you know math, science, English, history. Right. And I can see it so much in you and in your mom and in your family is like the skills that come from that part of the brain that we are so fortunate to be able to work on with people are grit, willpower, determination, curiosity. Like those are the skills that are housed in that front part of the brain. So it's no coincidence then that you're super successful because mom taught you those skills. Right. And the skills have nothing to do with how smart, like I know you're smart as a business owner, but it doesn't have anything to do with school. It has to do with something outside of that. And it's no coincidence then as well that you were also not just a super successful business owner, but Olympic level athlete, raised a daughter who's an Olympic level athlete, probably have at least one more who will be high level like that would be my guess as well. So it's really special to just see that it's not necessarily luck or that like God gave it to all of us. It's whether we put in the work necessarily and learn the skills necessary to be able to have more grit, more willpower, more whatever it is.
Yeah.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, I got one of my favorite quotes. I don't remember it. I'm having a hard time with it, and I hate that I don't remember who it was. It was either Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. When they say, it took me 17 years to become an overnight sensation.
Yep.
Oh, that's one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah.
Because how long did those guys work in the dark before they came out in the light, right?
So true.
That's one of my favorite quotes, and I live by that.
Yeah.
You know, in the world we live in today, instant gratification is something that a lot of the kids, especially younger generations, unfortunately with social media, it makes it look like it's real.
Yeah.
Like when you start to follow someone who has 1 million followers, that person started with 3 followers.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But you found them when they had 1 million followers, and they're really good at what they do. And you're looking at them going, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
Right? No, you can't.
No.
No, you can't. You know, I follow a guy who interviews people who are either millionaires or billionaires. And you've probably seen this guy, and he'll go up to them and he'll ask them questions about how they became successful.
Yeah.
And it's usually like a 1-minute spot.
Yep.
You know, it's probably longer, but it was edited. But I love that. Because that guy who now has 2 or 3 million followers, that guy took a chance at some point. And he probably took some knocks. Probably people said, oh, you have 100 followers. Yeah, I'm not going to give you the time of day.
Yeah.
Right? And today, everybody gives him the time of day because most of the people he walks up to recognize him, know who he is. Yeah, but he took knocks. And you know what he took? It took perseverance to get to 3 million followers. It took a lot of doors being slammed in your face. And most people can't handle that.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between somebody who's successful and somebody who could potentially be successful, but will never realize that potential.
You're making me feel good. This morning I had a conversation with Coco, and she was frustrated because she was. We do a thing every week where we write out like what do we like most from the last week, and then we put it in a jar and we'll read it at the end of the year.
Oh, that's great.
So we do it once every week. And Coco was writing the word eating, and instead of an N, she wrote an M.
Okay.
And she was frustrated, and she's like, I can't do it. I always mess up. And she's like telling herself the story that she's never going to be good at writing. Yeah. And I told her, I'm like, Coco, just remember, like, there are people who don't try and they never fail. And since they never fail, they never learn anything and they're never pushing themselves. That's right. And it like completely shifted her whole mindset of like, okay, I'll just flip it over and do it over again. Whereas I think a lot of times it's like, people don't want to fail or they're not taught to fail. But what I'm realizing is like all the failures are the thing that eventually lead to the success in the first place.
What does every successful entrepreneur have in common?
Yeah, probably that they've all
failed.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
So that's, I'm going back to the original story you asked me about.
Yeah.
There was a kid that was part of our universe on our swim team. Right. So, fast forward, he's 25 years old now. And this mother had 4 kids go through our swim team.
Yep.
3 of her kids, the first 3, they all went to the 5 a.m. morning practices, right? Nobody loves that, but it's part of the success path, right?
Yeah.
So most swimmers who want to be successful, who have that goal of someday achieving possibly a scholarship or swimming in college at some level, will go through that, right? Nobody loves it. Coaches don't love it, but we'll go through that. The 4th one in particular decided he didn't want to go through that. He didn't want to do that, and that's fine. So he was a really good swimmer. He's a really good high school swimmer, never swam in college, but he was really good. The other 3 all swam in college. Today, the other 3 have achieved various levels of success. We all live in here in Orange County. They all live in different parts of the country.
Sure.
And one of the daughters lives in Germany, so she lives outside in Europe. So, the 4th one hasn't really found his way yet. He's 25 years old. He was caught up in the COVID. He was, locked away in his room for a few years, not really doing much of anything. And actually, the money that he had saved up, he gambled it away.
Wow.
Yeah, he had a little bit of money saved up, gambled away. Parents had no idea this was going on.
Yeah.
And so he's really having a tough time finding his way. The other day, I met up with his mom. We had coffee. And she said, the only thing that was different between him and his siblings is that he was the only one that never wanted to go to morning practice. He was the one that refused and just kind of wanted to take shortcuts to success, because he did have a plan to swim in college. And part of what could have been his initial descent, right, from possibly being a D1 athlete to not being one, was the fact that nobody offered him a scholarship, and they wouldn't even let him walk on to their team. So, and she says the only thing I can think of that was different between him and his siblings was the fact that he did not want to go to morning practice, and we should have caught that as a sign that he's trying to take a shortcut. Yep. And we're not fixing it. We're not showing him the path. And I think, look, I don't believe that. I should say I do believe that parents need to be a part of showing their kids the path.
For sure.
Right? And I do believe that you should hold their hand. And I do believe that you should be reassuring to them.
Yep.
Because it's important. Because that's, how long do we have till our kids go away and possibly don't ever come back, right? Because once they turn 18, 19 in the U.S. culture, most kids will go off to college and then they'll go off and live on their own.
Yep.
Right? So we're never going to get that time back, that opportunity. So part of my being a parent is sharing my world experience with my kids. And part of that is showing them that life isn't easy. Things that happen to us, most of the time we deserve, even though sometimes it seems unfair.
Yeah.
Most of the time we deserve whatever happens to us. So if you're asking yourself, why didn't I get that D1 scholarship? Or you're asking yourself, why doesn't anybody at the very least let me walk on? I'm pretty good. Take a look at the path you created, and that's your answer right there. It's not that the world's unfair, is that that's what you set yourself up for. So that's part of what I work with my kids, my daughter, my oldest one, Annika. Mm-hmm. That was part of it. I said this to her, and I said it to you a second ago. Nobody wants to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to jump in a cold pool.
Yeah, she's told me that multiple times.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that. But did she do it? Heck yeah,
every day.
Every day.
Yep.
Didn't miss a practice. I never, it's more often that she would be like, "Dad, we've got to go," versus me saying it to her.
Yeah.
Like, "Dad, we're going to be late." So that's when I knew with a kid like her, not only is she very talented, but she has that drive to be successful, and she's on her way now. She graduated college, she graduated her master's, and she's on her way. She's got herself a good job. She's getting into the world, and she's on a good path. And look, as a parent, I'm still not hands off. I'm still making sure that
of course,
that she continues down that path and keeping tabs on her. And so does my wife Megan. My wife communicates more with her on day to day. I communicate when she needs something, or when I have to check in. But yeah, I think our job as parents, it doesn't end when our kids leave the home.
For sure.
It continues. It just changes.
Yep.
It just changes a little bit. So, that's a story about that kid. I don't want to say his name in case he ever sees this.
Yeah.
But that's a story about the kid and a perceived shortcut that might have cut his career short.
Yeah. I mean, we see it all the time. And again, it just goes to show that it's just a set of skills that are learned, and he was unwilling to learn the perseverance, the sacrifice, the whatever it takes. So if you had let's say we had a room full of young kids, let's say high schoolers, they could be younger than that, but let's say high schoolers, and they were like, all right, I want to go out, I want to start my own business. What's the number one piece of advice you would give for them, or anybody, even people like us who were we had former careers, we were pretty successful in those careers, and then decided hey, we're going to give it all up and we're going to do what our calling is. What advice would you give to those people?
Oh, the easiest advice: believe in yourself.
So good.
Believe in yourself, because you know what? There are more haters in this world than we want to admit.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
And the ones that are telling you that it's not going to happen are the ones that are too afraid to try.
So good.
Don't listen. Believe in yourself. The only voice in your head that matters is yours.
Come on.
Right? So that's the number one advice you'd give any young person right now who wants to go off on an entrepreneurial path.
Yep.
And look, as a whatever age I was, with 2.5 kids at home, right? Because one was coming, and a wife and a mortgage and car payments, I started teaching swim lessons. I had a vision that nobody else had. My boss told me, "Isn't that something you do in high school?" That should have been enough right there to me to say, "Okay, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Let's go on our ride along.
Yep.
I'm going to go down this path." I had a good salary. I had good perks. But what it is, I think it's Kevin O'Leary that said a good salary is the death sentence to any entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
So
100%.
I was able to sacrifice all of that and just believe in the vision that I had because I believed in myself. But where does that come from? I think in my case, it came from athletics.
Yeah.
It came from support. So I had the support at home from my family, my mother, my father, my brothers. I had the support at home from my wife. And I had the discipline from sports, from having achieved success in sports that wasn't natural. It wasn't natural success, because if you look at my trajectory as an athlete, as a swimmer, the Olympic path for me was a little bit different than it has been for many other athletes. I wasn't uber successful when I was young. My success came at the tail end of my high school years and throughout my college years. So I was a late bloomer. So there was a lot of times I could have just given up because I wasn't achieving that success that my other teammates were achieving early on. So that was perseverance right there. Continue to believe in yourself that you have more to give. And I did that, and I was able to go to college. I was able to earn a degree and a scholarship.
Yep.
And then I was able to earn a spot on the Olympic team.
Wow. And you went in 96, right? Olympics in 96?
I went in both. I went in 96 and 2000.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, and funny enough, it's funny because now I look back on it. I didn't win a medal at the Olympics. I did not medal. As a matter of fact,
But just to be there, you're in the 0.0001%.
Everybody tells you that. But I'll tell you what, that's the worst thing you could say to an Olympian.
Yeah.
Because we all go to the Olympics with hopes.
To win. Yep.
With that hope of maybe, if lightning strikes, I might be able to earn my way into a final and then possibly get a medal, especially in my event, which is so unpredictable. It's the 50 freestyle, which is it's a 22-second event.
Yep.
So it's unpredictable. Like you have a great start, you have a great middle of your race, you have a great touch. You could do something, but I think that helped me because when I retired, when I finished my career, I still had that hunger. God, I didn't get a medal. I didn't get a medal at either of the Olympics that I went to. What if I would have gone just a little, what if, you got that what if, you got a lot of what ifs. Well, you have two choices. You can either dwell on that for the rest of your life or you can turn that energy into something else.
Yeah.
And I decided to turn that energy into first getting into the corporate world, which is what I thought I wanted to do. And then realizing, no, I want to be an entrepreneur. I've got a lot of energy to give. I'm going to put all of my energy into that. And that's where it went and that's where we're at.
So cool.
Yeah.
So special.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate you sharing all of it.
Yeah.
It's not hard. Like literally the principle is there. It's that you can learn to persevere. You can learn to make sacrifices. I love as you were talking, I was kind of thinking this. I'm like, you would never look at yourself and say like, God just made me special and different from everybody else, right? You're like, no, I had to work my butt off. Like I wasn't even, and it's so different too, because I think of my journey. I had my best friend's dad, who was also a chiropractor in high school. He said to me, he was like, dude, don't quit baseball. He's like, I know you're frustrated. He's like, you're slow, you're uncoordinated. He said, but you'll grow into your body. And I didn't believe it. And I would even go so far as to say I didn't have the support system at home to necessarily even know how to believe that of myself and that there was more. And so I just quit. And now I look back on it and it's probably one of my biggest regrets, because not saying I would have ever went pro or even played in college or any of that, but I realized like how much sport and being athletic and moving my body is a part of my life. Yeah. And I literally didn't grow into it until like after my senior year. So I think again, it's special. It's just like you had that support system at home to say, hey, stick with it. Like, don't just give up on it. And then look what happened. You end up as an Olympian. Yeah. Which is super cool.
Yeah. I had, just like everything else, you have doubt, right? Yep. So as I'm going through my early high school career in swimming, my doubt, I swam and played water polo all 4 years in high school.
Yeah.
So my doubt was that I was going to put all this time and effort into something that just wasn't going to pay out, right? So there was a short window in high school where I decided I'm not doing this anymore.
Yep.
I'm not going to swim anymore. I'm going to be a cyclist. I'm going to be a road racer. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yep. So my parents were initially like, what are you doing? You've put in so much effort. But then they were like, okay, this is what you want to do? Got it. Yeah. We'll support you. And that took about 6 months for me to hit reality. That, getting into a sport that late, especially when you've achieved a certain level of success in your other sport, and realizing that, oh my God, I'm going to have to start all over again. Like I'm starting from the bottom.
Yeah.
Right. And then going back and saying, well, you know what? I kind of miss what I used to do. And I was pretty good at it. All right, let's put this to the side. Let's go back and give it another shot.
Yeah.
But part of that was my parents not trying to force me to do something I didn't want to do.
Sure.
Because had they forced me, had they said, no, you know what, you're doing this and that's that would have been, I think that would have been the death sentence to my career.
Yep.
Because then I would have, like any other teenager would do, you'd push back to the point where you're like, well, I'm not doing this. I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing that either. I'm done with that too. But they let me create my path, if you will. And that path took me to another sport. And that took me to realize, hey, I've got something over there. I'm pretty good. Let's see this through and let's see what happens. And that's when I started going to morning workouts. It's funny enough. That's exactly what it took for me to be like, okay, I'm in 100%.
Wow.
Now I'm in 100%.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to do this to actually do it with a goal in mind. And that goal is now going to be to swim in college.
Yeah.
Right. So that's when I started doing morning practice. About 16, I was 15 or 16 years old. That's when I started doing the morning practices. And, I spent a couple of years doing that. And just how that helped shape my life. Athletics mimics life. You have good days and bad days. That's how life's going to be.
Yep.
So for anybody listening to this who's still in it and they're still young and they're still going through, it doesn't always make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't always make sense, but at the end, it's always worth it. And that's what I realized.
Yeah.
And it took me to make a left when I should have just gone straight.
Yep.
To realize I made a wrong turn and I got to go back and go back to that road that I was going straight on, get to that road and get back on it.
Yeah.
And it took me that to realize that's where I needed to be. And look what happened.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. I think biggest lesson, biggest takeaway for me is just, and I know this to be true because I preach it every single day, but the reminder that like everybody literally has the same potential to be successful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of, do you have the skills? Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about like you're just God-given skills, but like we all have the same brain. We all have the same ability to push ourselves. We all have the same ability to be able to, like you said, is like making the switch from I'm just going to, all right, I'm going to do the 5 a.m. workouts, or like the other guy that you shared. Yeah. It's so special, man. It's just a reminder that like no matter who you are, no matter where you came from, like your family didn't come up super rich where it was like, oh, we're just going to give Felipe money to start whatever business he wants to. Like it wasn't like that. So it's so cool to hear all these things. I have one last question before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to know more about your swim school, know more about you, be able to get into contact with you, if you have anything you would want to share with them, I would love for you to just drop that. And we'll put the link in the show notes and all that. We know we love Evolution Swim, but yeah, tell us where we can find you.
So probably the easiest place is evolutionswim.com. Yeah. So that's our website, right? Cool. And then our handles are at Evolution Swim, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it may be. To get a hold of me, that's become a little bit harder.
We can leave a gatekeeper. Go through the website, figure it out. If you're good, you'll figure out how to get a hold of him.
Yeah.
That's how we do it with Danielle. Danielle's laughing because she's like, yeah, I know all about that.
Yeah, Danielle's, yeah, that's right. So, yeah, it's look, I love doing things like this.
Yeah.
Because if there's anybody that I want to help or can help, it's younger generations.
Yep, for
and
sure.
I do that. I feel I do that often just because I do coach. And that's part of my daily routine now is to coach. And part of that is obviously because I have my daughter swims, and my younger daughter, my 15-year-old swims, and I get to coach her every day. I get to coach my 13-year-old who just got into my group. So I get to coach her as well. So I'm busy. I'm busy, but I'm busy doing the right things. I'm busy doing my calling.
Yeah.
And that is creating a swim school that, I always go back and look at that swim school project that I drew up sitting on a Delta Airlines flight from Atlanta to Los Angeles in the back of the plane, sitting next to the window. And I'm creating a spreadsheet of how many students will it take to make $500
wow
a month. And I'm looking at the spreadsheet. How much can I charge? How much will people pay for my services?
Yep.
And that's kind of cool. What about $1,000 a month? All right. What about 2,000? There's one thing that I've always prided myself on is never putting the monetary part first.
Come on.
It's always putting the service first and being of service to our clients. And today we live by that credo.
Yeah.
Our clients come first. Our employees, our team members, we don't even call them employees, we call them team members. Our team members come first. We have probably the lowest turnover rate of any formal swim school in the United States. So we live by the words that we preach. And, I always go back to that flight because I remember saying, well, how much will it take to make $500? And how much will it take to be $1,000? And that was the last time I ever thought about money when it came to the swim school.
Yep.
That was it. That flight was the last time because I put that away and I'm like, that's not important. I want to create something that I can be proud of, that my family can be proud of.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I put money first, that was never going to happen. I had to put service first and being of service to others first.
Yep.
And how do I do that? What's my calling? Initially, it was teaching kids how to be water safe so that we were drowning prevention advocates. Then teaching people to teach our students to be water safe, right? So I can't do it myself. I had to scale. And now we have, you asked me earlier how many employees we have. I honestly don't know, but I can tell you we have probably 30 to 40 instructors, right? 30 to 40 instructors. So we have 30 to 40 instructors teaching a few thousand kids a week to be safer swimmers, and so that we can really be drowning prevention advocates. And that's my calling. And although I don't physically get in the pool to do that, I overlook the curriculum that we update twice a year, every year, to be better. And so that's how we are of service to our clients. The experience at our swim schools, I think, you're a client, you can speak to that.
Dude, we have so many families that we send to you, and they all come back and say the same thing. It's amazing there. Like that, I've literally never had a family that we take care of. Sometimes you refer people places and they're like, yeah, it was okay, but I didn't like this. We've never had that with you guys. And Coco's been there since she's been 3 months old. So we've seen it through COVID. Like we've been through a lot of the stuff together, and it has been, you guys are the best of the best.
I love that you're saying that, by the way. But yeah, we work so hard on that, just from the people that we hire to our updated curriculum, to our customer service training, to our offerings at our swim school. We pride ourselves on that because we do want it to be about an experience. Anybody can teach swim lessons, but we want it to be about an experience. We want it to be about saving lives, which I think we do daily. But part of my day now is coach. I don't get in and I'm not an instructor swimmer, but I am a coach.
Sure.
And I've got 16 kids that I coach, and I think I'm helping shape their lives for the good. I'm teaching them life lessons.
Of course.
They're not always pretty. Right? But I teach them life lessons. We go through it together. They trust me. They know that I have the best interest for them. And so once you build that bond and that relationship, especially with this generation, right? This generation is a little bit different than others. It's so fulfilling. And I'm so grateful that they allow me to do that. These kids allow me to be on deck and to be their mentor and their coach. I'm grateful that they allow me to do that. But I'm also grateful, obviously, for all the families that trust us in what we do. Because, look, I will never take being a part of a child's life for granted. Because I know, as a father of 4, I know that how important it is to choose the right businesses, the right services for our kids, the right doctors for our kids. I know how important that is. So I will never, ever take that for granted. So if you want to reach me, it's at Evolution Swim.
At Evolution Swim, go through the gatekeeping, and maybe you'll get lucky enough to.
I don't know about lucky. But yes. Yeah.
Felipe, I just want to say again, man, thank you so much for, one, taking the time to be here, taking away from all the important stuff that you do. Like, I know the way that your leadership has impacted my daughter with swimming. Perseverance being one of those for sure, because it is, like, she only goes 1 day a week, and she's a great swimmer.
Yes, she is.
A great swimmer. But sometimes she's like, I don't want to go, Dad. And we're like, this is just what we do. So thank you, one, for having an impact on my daughter's life through your vision, because you have. And I know that you know this, but it's just important to reiterate that, like, it's not just, like, I'll give you an example of how far-reaching what you're doing goes. So Coco, we've been at Strands the last 3 days. We were there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The waves were a little bit bigger on Friday and Saturday, and she's full-on diving under the waves at Strands, not at Doho.
So crazy.
And so you guys, if you're watching, you're not from Southern California, the waves at Strands get big and intense for most people. But she's like so confident. She's like, Dad, don't hold me. I got it. I can dive under on my own.
That's so
And
awesome.
To have that level, one, I love the water, so I get to enjoy it with her. So like, as a dad, I get an experience that I probably wouldn't otherwise have gotten if it weren't for her confidence in the water through Evolution. But two, just the confidence that she's grown within herself, where like she has friends who surf regularly who are her age. And even though she doesn't like to surf, man, just her confidence in the water is next level. So thank you. It impacts me. I get to have more fun with my daughter doing what I love, which is being in the ocean. So it's far, far reaching, and it's important. And I'm just so grateful that you would take time away from your family, time away from Evolution and all the team that you train and all the people that you coach and everything else that you're doing, supporting Megan and her businesses. And like, from the bottom of my heart, man, I'm just super grateful for the time, for the energy. And I think the most important thing is just reminding people, like, you're not broken. You can literally achieve whatever you want to achieve. And it just takes a lot of hard work and sacrifice, as Felipe talked about. And man, I just thank you so much again for being here.
Well, I appreciate that last story, by the way. That made it all worth it. Yeah, that's what I love to hear. And I hear that often, when I'm out and about and I run into families that work with us.
Yeah.
I hear those stories all the time. And oh my God, I can't tell you how much that fills me up when I hear that, because it just makes all of those hours in the dark. it makes them worth it.
100%. And I could say the same about Francesca too. You know what I mean?
Man.
Like that's why I got into.
How much time do you have on this podcast?
That's why I quit. I don't know what time is it. I can.
How much time do we have?
Okay.
I was going to say, how much time do we have? Because you're going to talk about Francesca.
Yeah, I could share. I could share the story. Well, you can share the story.
This man has changed my daughter's life. So all of us come here. That's no joke. We've been here for 5 or 6 years. Danielle,
she's
you'll
been here for a
tell
long
us.
time. Danielle would probably have to look it up.
She came in here when she used to wear cowboy boots.
Francesca came in when she had stinky feet and cowboy boots with no socks on.
6 years. I mean,
Yeah,
we
it's
have
been a
been
long
coming to
time.
you guys for 6 years.
Yep.
That's got to be up there with probably one of the longest running activities that my kid, like Coco, right?
Yep.
The longest running activity she's done in her entire life is swim
Oh, there's
lessons,
no question.
right?
Yeah.
So Francesca and all of us, honestly, one of the longest activities that she has done
Yep.
is come consistently to Dr. Daniel at Nexus. And if I think an understatement is saying that you've changed her life, because when we brought her here, she was broken. she was broken. She's a broken little kid. And God, just for, again, perseverance, sacrifice. Where do we live? We live 20 minutes from here. How many chiropractors do we pass on the way here?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
How many times have we ever thought about taking a shortcut and going somewhere else? Zero.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, because you have changed her life. And we wouldn't, and we grew up, I told you this, we grew up with chiropractor, right?
Yep.
And we have a chiropractor 30 seconds from that same person is still practicing, right? And we come here, and it's because of how you have impacted her life and how you've changed her life. And now she is a thriving 13-year-old kid who's about ready to go to high school next year. Believe that. High school.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah, right? So from a little girl who would come in here with cowboy boots on and stinky feet to a thriving 13-year-old girl who loves equestrian. She loves her animals.
Yep.
She's thriving at school. She's
reading like at the top of her
diagnosed
class.
with dyslexia, reading at the top of her class, to really coming into her own when it comes to swimming. I told you she earned her way to my group.
Mm-hmm.
She's just thriving. And I cannot tell you that you have a lot to do with that. So, as much as you're giving me praise, you have done just as much for my family as I hope that we've done for you.
Yeah,
So,
she's her story. If you haven't seen the story, you can go watch the documentary.
Yep.
You can check it out on our website for free. Felipe and Megan tell the story, and you get to see the kiddos in there too. And that was a couple years ago now, so they're way more grown up than what you see in the documentary. But that's why I quit teaching. You know what I mean? So not to get into my story, but she's literally, her story is exactly what I knew to be true when I was in the classroom, and to prove that out time and time again, and you guys being one of the integral families that we've been just taking care of, what seems like, almost since we were first open, is just unreal. So thank you again for all the trust. There's never a bigger honor. I'm sure you feel the same way when someone says, "Hey, I trust you with my child."
Yep.
It's special to be able to take care of you and Megan. I don't take that for granted at all. But when someone says, "Hey, here's my baby," it's just special, man. There's nothing like it. So thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, fam. We'll come at you guys again next week. Peace.